Hello and welcome back to Darkstorm Rising. Ian here. Today we're going to be returning back to the Lovecraftian realms that are the Cthulhu mythos. I hope you've had your space mead, because today we're going to venture the icy cold voids of space to find and capture a Byakhee, the messengers of Hastur. We're going to try and capture some of their malignity, some of their harsh, cold presence in the format of acrylics. And there's only one way we're going to do that, and that's to get over to the table. So here we have the pre-prepared steed of Hastur, the Byakhee. I've also got some green stuff, and with the green stuff texture rollers, I've rolled some cobblestones onto the base in preparation, just to give them a bit more texture on the base. And the first thing we're going to do is just give them a liberal coating in Vallejo's dark flesh tone. That's going to be with a dry brush, not to actually dry brush him, but just so that we can get a lot of texture all at once. And there's nothing subtle going on here. This is going to be our shade tone. It's going to be what's in the recesses, so I want a really good liberal coating of this on most of the model. Okay. We don't need to worry too much about going on to the base, we can work on that later. But let's just get some nice coverage all over the model. And we can start working on the rest from there. Okay. So now we've got that initial flesh tone set all over the miniature. I'm going to go back in and we'll get a slightly smaller brush this time. And I've prepared some of the Vallejo medium flesh, and we're going to mix some of the medium in with the dark flesh tone and get like a mixture of the two together. So we've got some shifting colour. And we're going to slowly work our way out to really, really pale colours. And so what we're going to do is just catch our way around the model. Now starting to head to a little bit of highlight all over. And just gently catch the upper surfaces. Sort of a form of wet blending, I suppose, because the lower layers definitely won't have had a chance to dry yet. You can see it's not going to take us long to get around this miniature and just get a coat of that on, leaving the recesses a little bit darker. As we come towards the middle of the wings, I'm just going to push the colour into the recesses and leave the darkness towards the edges. I don't know if you can see that happening there. Yeah, I think you can. And we'll go around the model, we'll get all that done and come back. Okay, so I've now pushed that warm flesh tone mix all the way around the model, but what I wanted to do is go back and just show you the face, because we're going to be a lot more delicate around the face, and we're going to try and capture light essences on the top of the skull. And just catch the detailing rather than be so aggressive with the brush. And what we'll do is we'll do the general body colour each time, but then we'll come back and just highlight the face a little bit more carefully each time we add a colour. So the next thing we're going to do is go back to the mid-tone flesh, pull that away from the rest, And then what we're going to do is to again emphasize the midsections of the wing, and then work from those midsections out, but being much more gentle with the strokes. And just coming back and re-emphasizing the midsections, and then working the colour back out again. On the body sections, just gently stroking, giving some extra relief, and trying to keep the upper portion lighter, and slowly but surely less and less is going to go onto the bottom portion of the model. I'll work around the rest of the model, leaving the face to last, and then I'll come and show you the face. So you can see we've sort of emphasised most of the colour on the top surfaces, trying to concentrate brighter colours into the centre of the wing, and then when we come back to doing the face and the head, again just the same as before, just being a little bit more careful, focusing the light, just catching those surfaces. Just trying to give you an upper, well, zenithal lighting with his flesh really, and then we'll just come down to the lower portions of his face. So we'll go from the medium flesh tone onto now some basic skin tone and start to push the colours higher. We'll do a mid-tone shift again and mix some in with the medium tone. And exactly the same as we've done, we'll concentrate towards the middle of the wings first, get that highlighted colour. We'll start to aim it a little bit more, and now start to try and make it look like stretched tautness in the wing, and we're starting now not to really go as far out onto the wing either. And then if you do one section of the wing, and then by the time you got over here, this side will be ready for just tidying up the mid-tones. The upper surface areas, we're just going to catch highlights. We are going to come back with a different colour altogether on these. So we're just catching highlights and trying to leave shade. So as the colour falls, it's going to do all the work for us. And this is going to be done with a wash in the next step. So I'll go around and again concentrate on the colours on the top, and slowly darkening off towards the bottom, and I'll be back in a little while. And for the head once more, bit of the mixture of the two, and then up on the prominences here, lots and lots of light. And come down just a little bit more gentle. I'll come and work some detail back in here in a little while. Just a little bit more specifics in the face, a bit more detail, a bit more colour. And I will go and pick out just the basic flesh. Give these up surfaces another touch. Not quite as much as we did already. I'm trying to stay on the higher surface areas. Just tapping to give a bit more texture as well. And then on the high prominences again. Sorry. Like the eyebrows. Just pushing those highlights. Ready for when we go back in with a bit more colour. I'll also touch up some of this upper surface area with this pale as well. And just give it a bit more strength of tone. And then we'll leave this to have a good dry, because the next step is going to go in with some washes, and we don't want it just to wet all the colours and they'll just end up merging together. And definitely now we're staying up on these higher surface areas. And just filling in mid sections and upper surface areas on the wing. And we'll just do that all the way around the model. Again, leaving these lower areas very much darker. And then we're about ready for starting to put some washes on. So that's the skin tones done all the way around. We're now ready for our first wash, and that's going to be Caramber Crimson. We'll load a load onto the palette. Just give the brush a little bit of a clean off so the brush isn't carrying too much paint. And then we'll work it into the bases of the wings. Draw ourselves a nice line all the way around the border. And then what we'll do is we'll pull the ink from the middle to the outside, and if we need to move it around the middle, add a little bit of water to the brush and use the paint or the wash that's already existing on the wing, and actually use it to move it around and keep it a nice pale colour. If you do overdo it and put a bit too much on, just empty your brush and then it will suck it back onto the brush as you dip it in, just like we can see here. And then again we can start to move it around the wing and just gently introduce shade, and if we get any bobs, pull them back to the edges of the wing. I'll work my way around the rest of the model. We'll do it on all the other wings. Just getting this nice vibrant pink onto the wing. So that's the Caramber Crimson all the way around the model, giving us a nice lovely warm tone to the wings. Ideally we'd wait for this to dry a little bit more, but I'm going to introduce some Space Wolves Grey, and that's going to go onto the bone structures of the wing and frame the wing, if you like. Just pop some onto the palette, and then we'll just slowly work our way around the model and just try and be careful. Now it doesn't matter if you get a little bit on the underside of each of the spars, because that will just add to that general feeling of shade and definition. So don't worry too much if you just overrun a little bit, and we can always correct that later if we need. But we'll go around all of the spar structures on the wing, the bony structures, and we'll just work our way around. Put in the Spaceballs grey, and then I think what I'm going to do in a moment is add a bit more of a blue to the wing, and just give it a bit more vibrancy and colour. This will give us a nice base tone, but I think we do need a bit of colour to tie in with the pink a little bit better. So I'll finish this wing, and then I will get back to you once I've been around the rest of the model. Okay, so we've now got the nice pink warm tones on the wing, and we've also framed them. The Spaceballs grey has done an excellent job there. I'm really happy with the overall the skin tones and the depth. We can now see that we're getting into some darker colours as we go down the model, and just to really exaggerate those, I'm going to add some Magos purple. A couple of blobs again on the palette as normal. And we'll start towards the bottom of the miniature, giving a good solid coat over everything we can see. And then we'll take it up to probably lighter colours, but probably up to the rib cage and up to the bicep shoulder area. And then as we come down the model, we'll start to lather it on, especially in the groins and underneath the legs, where we're going to need more intensity, more shade, and give us a bit more depth in the creature. And overall, the feel of this miniature is going to be that it's much darker towards the bottom, and then paling and focusing all the attention on the head and shoulder area, and that grimace that he's got going on there. It'll come up, and again, anywhere where the shallow will get an extra bit of a denser coat there. And then in a moment, along with the blue that's going on the wings, we'll blend the blue in with the Magos purple and build the depth on this miniature. Okay, pretty happy with that. So we're now going to add some Leviathan blue to the mix. So we'll get some of that on the palette. And I'm going to place that quite heavily into the groins. Do some much needed shading under the belly and down the insides of the legs, and then the feet and the hands can get a decent coating as well. And I'll give it quite a strong inky black colour. And then we'll wash the brush and we'll leave a little bit of paint on it, but it's mainly water now. And then what we'll do is we'll use the shadows as a reservoir, and we'll just move the colour now around and shear it onto some of these upper portions, but obviously in a much thinner layer. And if it is that we do deplete the shadows, we can always go back in for the second attack. And just pull that up onto the lower portions of the body. And we're now going to move over to Assuman Blue for the upper surfaces, just to brighten the colour up a little bit. And bring it down. Into the other colours, just so we've got a bit of crossover of colour. And we'll work it onto the wings as well. Just a little bit of a mix of the two as well. And if you blob like I've just done there, a bit of water, and just wash it away. And we'll just carry on, and we'll work our way around the wings, adding in a little bit more of this blue. And I'm just going to touch into the underside of the wings and bring some of that blue into the wing colour. It'll actually give us a bit more shadow as well. Right, so I'll work my way around the model and I'll come back shortly. So now we've got those lovely dark tones in the lower portion. I am going to add a little bit more of the Caribou Crimson back onto the model and just pull those pinks a little bit higher up into the chest. So into the biceps, lower portions, mix it in with the colours we've already got on there. I think we may just work a little bit back into some of this wing as well. Just reinforce the pink in the wing. Okay. Now, I think what we need to do is just a little bit of reintroducing some of the highlights again, but I really do need to leave that to dry before we do that. So now to re-highlight. So I've just got a little bit of blue-grey 5 Vallejo, and I'm just very gently going to catch edges of the wings, and just put a little bit of highlight back on these edges. We'll do that both sides of the wings and then come back. And also, now I've got the wings re-highlighted, I'm going to get the same pale grey blue, and this is going to be a really light dry brush, so getting rid of most of it as I can on the tissue paper, and this is just to catch some of the veins that are standing out on the abdomen and on the legs, and also just to very gently catch some definition back onto the miniature. Not really going down onto the feet. Let's catch the rear as well. Okay. Just give a little bit of definition back to the miniature. For our next step, we're going to need some light flesh. So that onto the palette. And what I'm going to do is two things. One is anywhere there's a hole in the wing, where all these tiny little jags out of the wing, I just catch the bottom edge of the wing and re-emphasize where those are. Now we've got some veins on the belly here, I'm going to pick those out, and then also the other thing I wanted to use the white for is if you look around the miniature, there are lots and lots of little sores. So what I'm going to do is just catch where those holes are on the sores with some white. And I'll work my way around the model doing that. So I've put lots of little white dots now where all those cyst spots, whatever they are, and we're going to get a little bit of Blood Angels red. I'm going to mix it with a tiny little bit of a lupus pink, and then we're just going to go around the model and dot. All of those spots. So I've been around the model, I've just recut the bottom of the holes, touched the edge of the wings up, put all the pink spots on, and I've started just catching. If you look around the model, you'll see there's some really thin little veins on the model, and so I'm just trying to catch those little veins. So that's caught all of the little veins on his abdomen. I just want to reinforce those, and I'm going to get some full grim pink and just very gently place that onto the edges of those veins. Okay. So I do want to pull a bit of the blue that we've got. I'll get a little bit and really just a very gentle amount. I want that around the edges of the mouth and underneath the jaw. Oh, sorry, underneath the cheek. Just to pull that colour into the face a bit. And then we'll get some of the volupus pink and red. Just wash that in as well. Just catching it around the mouth. And I'll really thin it off because I just want to catch a little bit at the edge of the skull here. And then just as a final little bit of a highlight, tiny little bit of flesh tone, and just catch the tops. His thighs here. I think we can more or less say we're, oh actually I can't say we're done just yet because the talons at the top of his wings aren't done. That's going to be very straightforward, and that's literally grab some Basilicum grey and Basilicum grey goes on all of the spines at the top of the wing, and then what we'll do is once that's dry we'll just come back and put a tiny highlight on each of the spines. And then we're done. So while that's busy drying, I will do the pavement and then I'll show you the finished miniature. And last but not least, a little bit of Doomfire magenta, tiny bit on the tip of the brush. And finally, the eyes. And I want them to be glowing. Okay, that's better. And I think we'll just reinvest in the top of the skull again. There we go. Okay, so I suppose time for the grand reveal. Well, I hope you really enjoyed the video. If you did, please do like and subscribe. That's the Byakhee completed, and on to the next miniature. Only one thing left to say, as ever. Are we paying minis yet? Hell yeah! I'll catch you in that next one.